Hello, and welcome to the Juvenile Department of the Maricopa County Superior Court. Here in the Juvenile Department, we focus on the needs of the child while dealing with the issues in the juvenile justice system. Toward that end, we consider ourselves a therapeutic court, not a court determining guilt or innocence. When we say therapeutic, we mean working on the needs of the child, including the probation department, the attorneys present, the county attorney's office, therapeutic providers, and mental health professionals.
In juvenile court, the judge serves as the courtroom leader, protecting the juvenile's rights, listening to everyone involved in the case from all sides, deciding hearings and dates, and determining many things in addition to whether the child is found delinquent. In the courtroom, you will notice a group of professionals, each of them with different jobs to do. Depending on which courthouse your case is assigned to, the layout could be a little different. You'll want to ask your attorney if you need help. The prosecutor, who will be sitting on the far right side of the courtroom, is the lawyer who works for the county and the state.
I am a prosecutor, and that means that I represent the state and the people of our community. So when someone is accused of a crime, it is my job to prove that they did it. The way I try to prove that someone has committed an offense is by using all of the things that we know about how they committed the crime. In other words, if there's somebody who saw the crime happen, I will call that person to come and testify in court and talk about what they saw. They might have seen somebody actually commit the shoplift at the store. So we might have, let's say, an employee of the store come in and talk about how they saw it happen. Sometimes we have video, so if the store had video surveillance and caught the crime on video, I'll bring in the video. That's evidence.
A juvenile that has been accused of a crime is called a defendant. Each juvenile defendant has a lawyer called a defense attorney. The defense attorney usually sits on the left side of the courtroom. Regardless of the courtroom layout, the defense attorney will always be sitting right next to you. It is this lawyer's job to speak up for the juvenile and defend them in court. The juvenile defendant's parent or guardian will also sit next to them in court on the other side, so the defense attorney can speak with and explain things to the juvenile defendant during the hearing.
In the courtroom, I'm a defense attorney. I represent kids, so I defend kids in delinquency proceedings. The first thing that my client and the kid needs to know is that I am their attorney and that they have attorney-client privilege with me. So what they tell me when we meet alone is a secret. I can't talk about what they tell me unless I have their permission, and I also have to make sure that their families understand that as well. I would say that a defense witness or defense evidence is just evidence or witnesses that help the defendant in court, that help the defendant's case.
The probation officer is also in court and usually sits next to the prosecutor. The probation officer's job is to make recommendations that help the judge decide the rules you should follow during and possibly after the case is decided. The probation officer is also there to help the juvenile defendant stay out of trouble.
The role of the juvenile probation officer is to be the eyes and ears of the court. The probation officer will reach out to a juvenile's parent or guardian, as well as the juvenile, and their job is to gather information regarding the juvenile's behaviors at home, in school, in the community, as well as discuss any concerns the parent or guardian may have. At the end of the report is where we make our recommendations. Our job is to ensure that both the juvenile and the community are safe. So if at any time the probation officer doesn't feel that either one of those is going to be safe, they'll make the recommendation for detention. After a juvenile appears at court, the judge does give them release conditions. The juvenile probation officer's job is to ensure that the juvenile is complying with those conditions, following the rules. If a juvenile is not, depending on the severity of the rule they're not following, the probation officer typically will reach out to the family, let them know what's going on, why they're not complying, try to get them back on track so that they can comply. If attempts have failed, they've not been able to do that, the probation officer will then request to the judge that the juvenile, that their release is revoked. They're no longer allowed to be out on release conditions, and then they will be brought back to the court sooner.
A person who works for the court, called a clerk, will also be present in the courtroom and sits very close to the judge. The clerk takes notes during the hearing and also helps to schedule the next time the juvenile defendant will meet the judge. Next to the clerk is another court employee called a bailiff. The bailiff will call everyone into the courtroom when it's time for the case to start, and will contact security if there is someone who is disrupting the court proceedings. When attending court, you should dress nicely, be polite to everyone, and address the judge as Your Honor. Make sure to turn off your electronic devices and remove your headphones. Remember to be respectful to everybody in the courtroom and listen closely to what is being said during your hearing. It is important that you speak up at any time if you have a question. The best way to do this is to lean over and whisper the question to your attorney.
Thank you for your interest in learning about the roles of those in the Maricopa County Juvenile Department. For more information, we encourage you to visit the court's website at superiorcourt.maricopa.gov.